This episode of the New Hampshire Business Show is sponsored by Everlasting Capital. If you're a small business and you need money and a bank won't give it to you, Everlasting Capital is here to help. In as quickly as a couple of days, you can have the funding your business needs for new equipment or anything else you're going to need the capital for. So submit your application today and see how they can help you out. Hello everyone, welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana and today we're here with Brian Campbell. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
So today's a little different. Brian Campbell is an author. Is this your first book?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the book is called The Third King Coronation. So here you go, I'll give you the book. And so let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
First off, just want to say thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, of course.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I am a first-time author. Basically, I am a business major who works as a customer service manager, project manager, sales coordinator, that type of thing. But basically spent my entire life loving literature, writing, history, anything I could get my hands on, any type of reading and learning that I could do. I like to get into topics and then just read everything there is about those topics. I wrote a lot of poetry as a kid, short stories, things like that. Never really attempted to have them published. Just hold on to them. I have stacks and stacks of papers that I've written. But always wanted to sort of tell the story of the main character. The main character in this book is Ben Gilsum. So the book is really, there's kind of two stories within the book. You get Ben's story, who's this shy, poor kid who grew up in the middle of nowhere, and through his education and through his own sort of ambitions to get away from all of that, finds himself in Washington, D.C., battling with, the beast that's there. Sort of a unsuspecting hero. Intertwined with that is I invented a secret society called the Brothers of Herod. Sort of they're not part of the Freemasons, but their leadership sort of comes from the Freemasons. And I wanted to create my own secret society so that I could sort of play with them a little bit, make them twisted and dark and mysterious. And, I didn't want to do that with the Freemasons because I have a lot of respect for the Freemasons. And so I created the Brothers of Herod, and we get to learn their story. And sort of how Ben's life becomes intertwined with them, sort of some of their mysteries and some of the questionable characteristics of some of their leadership and things like that. So it's a mystery as well as learning about the main character who I intend to bring back in more parts to the story.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I take it just from what we're talking about, it's a fiction?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is it one of those fictions that's loosely drawn upon real life stuff or events, or
exactly.
Is it pretty much just
the loose part comes really from the Brothers of Herod. It's a completely fictitious group of people, but there are a lot of historical references. I'm also kind of a fan of history, as is the main character in the book. So there's a lot of stories about real events in history, and you get to learn about sort of lesser known figures in history as we tell the story. So a lot of that is real. There's some speculative history of the Freemasons, sort of what happened to them. Do they all go away? Or are the Freemasons today the same as the Freemasons yesterday? What happened to the main group? Where did they go? How did they end up, living on their lives after they were cast away by the Pope? So that story kind of is told too, with some true history and some speculative history. That's really, in my opinion, very interesting stuff that I really enjoyed reading and writing about.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So, where did all the inspiration for it all come from?
Basically, like I said, I've always kind of liked to write. I've always liked to tell stories. I've always, previously was a real big writer of poetry and short stories, and never really wanted to tackle a novel. Never really thought I could tackle a novel. But the ideas of what would make a secret society tick, and sort of where do they get their philosophies from, and what drives them to do what they do, was always interesting to me. And Ben's story kind of parallels my own story a little bit. There's a lot of stories about me that happened to Ben in his travels, and so that story I've always kind of wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And you can't tell that in a short story, so I sort of wrote an outline about both Ben and about the secret society, and sort of thought it would be kind of cool to blend them together and tell a full novel about it. It was funny because I started this when I was in my 40s. I wasn't a fresh kid out of high school who wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
So you could imagine sort of friends and family thinking, oh yeah, that's neat, you're going to write a novel, good for you. But it was something that became a passion, something that I I spent all my free time working on. I talked about it with my family all the time, and they're like, okay, maybe there's something here. So they got behind me, supported me, and helped me, ask questions like, what does a 21-year-old woman wear to a bar? I don't know. I don't know these things. So I have a wife and a daughter, and they help me with some of that stuff. And also, the internet and Google and things like that. But it was nice to have sort of people supporting me and helping me. And it's a lot of fun. So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to... You said you started it when you were 40s.
Yeah.
How long did the whole process take?
The outline was done in 2015, so it took me about 2.5 years to finish it. The writing process, probably about a year. There was a lot of research. Part of the novel, not only do I research the Freemasons and little historical tidbits along the way that they throw into the novel because I find them interesting. We learn a little bit about Ben is an intelligence analyst who works for a private contractor hired by sort of Homeland Security, the FBI, to sort of keep us safe. So he's not a government official. He's not a military person. He's not a member of the FBI. He's a private citizen. And we learn about how their day goes, what their office looks like, what type of traits make a person fit into that role, what is their day-to-day like. So there's a lot of research that went into that, as well as personal experiences. So it took about a year to get all that together. From start to finish, about 2.5 years from idea to print. I worked with an editor for about 3 months and a proofreader for a couple weeks. And then that's when the novel came out in October of last year.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. So did you self-publish or did you get a...
I tried querying agents for probably 3 months, and I didn't really have any luck, so I ended up creating my own publishing company, Red Cliff Press, which is really a doing business of me. So they're registered, and I self-published through Amazon KDP.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted you on the show is books come up a lot in the entrepreneurial world. So actually seeing someone start and finish something is rare. Because, for everyone that starts a book, only a small percentage of them actually finish.
Absolutely. And that is absolutely true. And in my case, I reached out to a couple of local authors to help me out. Tony Tremblay is a local Goffstown author. He writes horror stories.
Nice.
Steve Hobbs wrote a couple of books, New Hope and Retreads, who I knew them through my son played flag football with their son. I was an assistant coach on the team, and then I found out he was an author. And I was like, well, I should probably talk to him. So I reached out to them, and they were great. They were like, oh, let's meet up. Let's go have a beer somewhere. We'll talk about what you need to do next. Because I had written my book. I had a manuscript, but I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And I think a lot of people fit into that category where it's like the task seems, just insurmountable. And it's really hard to go from idea to book. And my advice to those people would be just reach out to someone. Reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. I've been through the process, and I'd love to share some ideas. There's lots of resources out there as well that people can go and find. But really, I think your best bet is to talk to some local authors. Yeah. Most of them are really, they want to help you out.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah.
'Cause I know I've never published a book, but I've written a few.
Yeah.
And the same thing. It's like you write it and you're like, well, what now?
Yeah, exactly.
Figuring out how do you print it, how do you do all this stuff. Like, do you get someone to do it for you? Do you self-publish? Like, it's crazy. And you have to do the editing and the covers. It's just there's always another step that you're just like, oh, I have to do this too. And so it must be like a sigh of relief when
it really is.
Out.
It's a great feeling. It's like, I finally finished, and here it is. And when you hold that book in your hand for the first time, you get a great deal of a sense of pride and accomplishment. It's a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's not as hard as everyone thinks it is.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you take every task one at a time, get some advice from people out there, it's something that I think anybody can do. It's just a matter of sticking with it and following the steps and doing all the things you need to do. But it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah. So you said you have a couple more books kind of planned out already?
Yep. Part 2 is already in outline form.
Oh, nice.
I'm kicking around ideas. One of the things that I did to write the first part, Coronation, was I would just be thinking about the story. After the outline is written, it's like, okay, just think about the story. Daydream if you need to. Think about what happens next. And I would dictate into my phone emails to myself when I came up with an idea or a scenario that seemed kind of interesting. So I have hundreds of emails that I just sort of put them aside, and then when it comes time to start writing, I sort of take them out, paste them into the, below the text where I'm writing, and cross them out as I use them, or delete them if, that really doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just a process of just battling through the story once you've got your outline written. So I'm in outline form now, and I've started sending myself those emails about ideas and conversations that might happen, and twists that I didn't think of when I wrote the outline that might be interesting to add later.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that happening right now.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for people, like, I guess, staying productive, kind of staying on track? How do you manage all that?
I think the biggest tip would be don't give up. It's something you can do. You can do it part-time. I mean, I work full-time, and I still work full-time. Mm-hmm. A couple hours a day if you put effort into it, maybe an hour. There were times when I'd go a week without doing anything, but you'd have to stay with it. Believe in yourself. Use an editor. You can spend a ton of money finding an editor, a professional editor, or you can use societies, but there's different organizations and groups, writers groups that have resources that aren't as expensive as a professional editor, and just push through. There's groups that read each other's writing, help each other out. You can get it done, and it doesn't have to be this huge, impossible task. But my biggest advice would be to just not give up. Keep slugging away.
Yeah.
Even if it takes 5 years. Some people told me that it took them 10 years to write their novel. And that's okay.
Sounds a lot like my books.
There's no rule. There's no if you're not done in 2 years, hang it up. No, none of that. Keep going. Keep slugging away. Change it. Don't be afraid to change parts and the whole thing, and change the story. Create different thoughts and ideas. I guess the best advice would be to just stick with it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So people that want to learn a little more, maybe you reach out, contact you, buy the book. How they get a hold of you?
You can purchase the book right now on Amazon. Searchable by either Brian D. Campbell or the Third King Coronation. It comes up pretty quickly that way. You can find it through Goodreads. Currently, Gibson's Bookstore in Concord has it on their shelf. Working to get into the Bookery in Manchester. Not quite there yet, but will be. But I think the easiest way to find it right now is through Amazon.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So has it been successful pretty much so far?
It's done well. Like I said, I haven't quit my day job, so I don't have any plans to do so. But it's meeting my expectations. I mean, I didn't set out to be a New York Times bestseller, although I haven't given up on that dream. But it's doing okay. It's holding its own.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I love seeing that type of thing come together. Mm-hmm. And like I said, most people, they don't even get to that point. So when it's actually done, you're like, I'm an author.
That's right. And
it's really cool.
During the editing process, I sort of asked my editor, because my editor has way more experience than I do, and I asked her, when can I call myself an author? And she's like, Brian, you're an author now. So it's like, you're done. You're an author. So, and that's a really great feeling. And when you realize that for yourself, it's a really special feeling.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and reach out. Like I said, reach out to me. I will help any way I can. Yeah. So I want people to experience that. It's really neat, and it's worthwhile. It's sort of the culmination of all the work and effort. It feels really good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely reach out, read the book. Always good to support local businesses and professionals and stuff like that. So I love it. So everyone have a great day.